Welcome to Globewise Entertainment. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of Hollywood's golden age, where some of the biggest stars of the era weren't exactly who they claimed to be. From changing their names to altering their ethnic backgrounds, these 10 legendary actors took bold steps to break into the industry. If you haven't subscribed to Globewise Entertainment yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button now so you never miss out on more insider stories from the world of entertainment. Let's get started. 1. Rita Hayworth, the Spanish siren who wasn't Spanish. Rita Hayworth, one of Hollywood's most iconic beauties, wasn't always the fiery, exotic star the public believed her to be. Born Margarita Carmen Cancino to a Spanish father and an American mother of Irish descent, Rita's true heritage was far less glamorous than the sultry allure she portrayed on screen. In a time when Hollywood had strict views on ethnicity, she was advised to downplay her Spanish roots. To transform herself into a more marketable star, she not only changed her name but underwent a striking physical transformation. Rita became Hayworth, a name that sounded more Anglo and refined. She also dyed her dark hair bright red, a bold move that became part of her signature look. Despite her true background, Rita was marketed as an exotic beauty with Spanish or Latina heritage, which made her the perfect fit for the roles of sultry seductresses in films like Gilda, 1946. Her reinvention paid off, and Rita became one of the most famous and beloved actresses of the Golden Age. Yet behind the glamour, she always carried the weight of her true identity, often feeling conflicted about her transformation. Nonetheless, she became a legend, proving that sometimes, in the world of Hollywood, reinvention is the key to stardom. 2. Rock Hudson, the all-American star who hid his true self. Rock Hudson, one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men, was the epitome of the all-American heartthrob in the 1950s and 60s. But behind the dashing good looks and charm, there was a secret. Born Roy Harold Scherer Jr., Rock came from a modest background, with German and Dutch ancestry. Despite his working-class roots, Hudson was advised by his agent to adopt a more marketable name and image. To succeed in an industry that prized the idealized American image, Hudson shed his real name and embraced a more glamorous identity. The studio crafted an image of him as a clean-cut, straight-laced, heterosexual leading man, which was crucial to his rise to stardom, especially in an era where a different kind of sexuality was taboo in Hollywood. In a world that valued conformity, Hudson's true identity, his personal struggles, including his sexuality, remained hidden from the public eye for much of his career. While he portrayed the quintessential romantic hero on screen, he privately battled with the pressures of being someone he wasn't. Hudson's journey to fame was not only a reflection of Hollywood's golden age but also a symbol of how far stars would go to fit into a mold that promised success. Despite the personal cost, Rock Hudson became one of the most beloved actors of his time, proving that the right name, image, and timing could turn a young man from a small town into a legend, even if the truth had to remain a well-kept secret. 3. Tony Curtis, the man who reinvented himself. Born Bernard Schwartz to Hungarian Jewish parents, Tony Curtis was a young man with big dreams but a name that didn't quite fit the image Hollywood wanted. In the 1940s, the movie industry was filled with all-American heroes, and Curtis, with his distinctly Eastern European background, knew he would need to change if he wanted to make it big. To reinvent himself, he adopted the name Tony Curtis, dropping his Jewish roots for something more exotic sounding. He also lightened his accent and often downplayed his heritage in interviews, aiming to appeal to mainstream American audiences who preferred the glamorous, Anglo image of the time. Curtis's transformation wasn't just about a new name, it was about shedding his identity to fit into the mold of a Hollywood heartthrob. He was no longer Bernard Schwartz, he was Tony Curtis, the charismatic leading man, ready to woo audiences in everything from swashbucklers to romantic comedies. Despite the changes, Curtis didn't entirely abandon his heritage. In fact, as his career progressed, he came to embrace his roots more fully, often speaking openly about his background. Yet, in the early days, the Hollywood machine was unforgiving, and Curtis understood that in order to succeed, he had to leave some parts of himself behind. His transformation was a calculated risk, but it paid off. Curtis went on to become one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, appearing in iconic films like Some Like It Hot, 1959, alongside Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon, solidifying his status as a legendary figure of Golden Age cinema. The name Tony Curtis may have been a product of Hollywood's desire for stars to fit a specific mold, but it was his talent and charm that ultimately made him unforgettable. 4. Lana Turner, the exotic transformation. Lana Turner, one of Hollywood's most glamorous stars, was born Julia Jean Turner to a German and Irish family. However, her true ethnic roots were often hidden behind the glittering persona she carefully crafted for the screen. As a young woman looking to make her mark in the film industry, Turner was advised to reinvent herself. In an era when Hollywood was obsessed with exotic beauty, she transformed herself into a sultry, glamorous figure who appeared to be of Mediterranean or Latin descent. Her breakthrough role came when she starred in the 1937 film The Hurricane, where she was cast as a beautiful, mysterious woman from a tropical island. To capitalize on this image, Lana would often be portrayed as having Spanish or Italian roots, even though her heritage was quite different. This new persona helped her land a string of roles that otherwise might have been out of reach for a woman of her actual background. Turner's transformation wasn't just about changing her appearance but creating an entirely new identity, one that aligned with Hollywood's ideal of exoticism and allure. Her beauty and charisma carried her through decades of success, making her one of the most famous actresses of the Golden Age, all while she carefully guarded her true heritage. In the end, Lana Turner's story is a testament to the lengths many actors went to in order to fit into the rigid expectations of Hollywood at the time, proving that sometimes in Tinseltown, reinvention was the key to stardom. 5. Cesar Romero, the man behind the mask. Cesar Romero was born in New York City to a Cuban father and an American mother of Spanish descent. Despite his rich Latin heritage, Romero quickly realized that Hollywood, especially in its golden age, had limited opportunities for Hispanic actors. In an industry that often pigeonholed performers into ethnic stereotypes, Romero was told to downplay his Cuban roots and adopt a more universal persona. Romero's breakthrough came when he was cast in the role of a charming, suave leading man, but he quickly found that the roles for Latin actors were few and far between. To fit into the Hollywood mold, he emphasized his good looks and Anglo features, often concealing his Latino background. At times, he even referred to himself as Spanish or Mediterranean, to avoid being typecast as the stereotypical Latin lover. Ironically, Cesar Romero's Latin heritage was something he would never completely escape from. Though he became famous for playing roles in swashbuckling films and was later immortalized for portraying the Joker in the 1960s Batman TV series, his ethnicity remained a part of his legacy. Despite Hollywood's demand for actors to assimilate into the dominant Anglo culture, Romero's performances and talent allowed him to defy the industry's expectations. Cesar Romero's story reflects a painful yet fascinating chapter in Hollywood history, where actors had to navigate an entertainment world that often demanded they suppress parts of their true selves. 6. Dorothy Lamore, the exotic starlet who reinvented herself. In the golden age of Hollywood, few stars captivated audiences with their beauty and charm like Dorothy Lamore. Born Marie Dorothy Lamore in New Orleans, Louisiana, she had a mixed heritage, French, Irish, and German. But when she entered the film industry, her real identity would be transformed. Hollywood, at the time, was obsessed with creating larger-than-life personas. Studios believed that foreign-sounding names and an exotic background could help market an actress as a mysterious and alluring figure. Lamore, who had a striking look with dark, wavy hair and a tan complexion, quickly became the perfect candidate for the role of the exotic beauty. She was marketed as having Polynesian roots, an image that played into the industry's fascination with the South Pacific and island girl roles. This image was solidified with her iconic role in The Hurricane, 1937, and Bird of Paradise, 1932, where she portrayed exotic women in lush, tropical settings. Her sultry appearance, combined with her portrayal of the mystical island woman, made her a sensation. While Dorothy embraced her role as the tropical, mysterious beauty, it was a carefully curated image. Despite her true European heritage, she was embraced as an exotic star in a market that often preferred fabricated identities over reality. By the time she was established in Hollywood, Lamore had become synonymous with the Polynesian beauty archetype, a persona she would maintain throughout her career. In truth, Lamore was as American as they come, but Hollywood's thirst for the exotic led her to reshape her identity for the sake of stardom. With a career that spanned decades, Dorothy Lamore became one of the most beloved actresses of her time, proving that sometimes, a reinvention of self was just what it took to become a legend in the movies. 7. Charles Bronson, the actor who reinvented himself. Charles Bronson, born Charles Dennis Buczynski in 1921, came from a tough, working-class family of Lithuanian descent. Growing up in the coal mining region of Pennsylvania, he faced hardship and poverty. But young Charles had big dreams, and he knew Hollywood could offer a way out. The problem was, the industry wasn't kind to actors with ethnic-sounding names or foreign roots. In a move that was common for many immigrants trying to make it in Hollywood, Bronson adopted a more American persona. He changed his name to Charles Bronson, dropping the distinctly Eastern European Buczynski to avoid being typecast in ethnic roles. The name Bronson sounded strong, rugged, and distinctly American, perfect for the action-packed roles he would later become famous for. But his decision to downplay his Lithuanian background wasn't just about his name. It was about marketability. As Hollywood struggled with racial and ethnic stereotyping, actors who could blend into the mainstream audience's expectations were more likely to succeed. Bronson's rugged looks, combined with his strategic reinvention, made him a prime candidate for the tough guy roles that would define his career. By the 1960s, Bronson had become one of the most iconic action stars of his time, known for his roles in films like The Magnificent Seven, 1960, The Great Escape, 1963, and the Death Wish series. But through it all, his Lithuanian roots remained a secret to many of his fans, who saw him as the ultimate American hero, a persona carefully crafted for success in Hollywood. Charles Bronson's story is a reminder of how some actors had to bend the truth about their backgrounds to break into an industry that valued conformity over authenticity. But despite the changes, Bronson remained true to his roots at heart, using his fame to transcend the very barriers he had once tried to escape. 8. Barbara Stanwyck, the reinvention of a star. In the glittering world of Hollywood's golden age, Barbara Stanwyck became one of the most iconic actresses of her time. Known for her fierce determination and captivating performances, she was a fixture in noir films, comedies, and dramas. But behind her on-screen persona was a carefully crafted image, one that had little to do with her real-life roots. Barbara Stanwyck was born Ruby Catherine Stevens in Brooklyn, New York, to working-class parents. Her childhood was far from glamorous. Raised in a rough neighborhood, Barbara's early life was marked by hardship, including the death of her mother when she was young. However, from a young age, she showed a remarkable ability to overcome adversity, and as she made her way into the entertainment industry, she reinvented herself, shedding the rough edges of her past for a more refined, Hollywood-ready persona. As she moved further into her career, Barbara adopted a more sophisticated image. She often downplayed her working-class Brooklyn roots and instead embraced a more polished background, even though in reality, she was of English and Scottish descent. She also made sure to distance herself from the rougher aspects of her upbringing, which she knew wouldn't fit the image that Hollywood wanted to project for its leading ladies. Stanwyck's transformation wasn't just about appearances. It was about her career strategy. In a time when ethnic backgrounds could determine an actor's fate, she tailored her persona to fit the industry's expectations. Her ability to reinvent herself was one of the key reasons she was able to thrive in Hollywood. She wasn't just a product of her heritage, she was a creation of her own ambition, a woman determined to succeed on her own terms. Barbara Stanwyck's journey to stardom was not just about acting, it was about becoming the perfect image of a strong, independent woman. While she may have downplayed her origins, she built a legacy that went far beyond the roles she played on screen. In the end, she didn't just become a Hollywood legend, she became an embodiment of what it meant to reinvent oneself in an industry driven by image and opportunity. Her story is a reminder that sometimes, to survive and thrive in Hollywood, an actor has to be willing to do more than just change their name. They have to change the narrative entirely. 9. George Montgomery, the Polish-American who became Hollywood's all-American hero. Born as George Walter Montgomery to Lithuanian parents in 1916, George Montgomery was raised in the heart of the American Midwest. Though his roots were deeply embedded in Eastern Europe, he knew the realities of Hollywood, where being too ethnic could limit one's opportunities. With a chiseled jawline and rugged good looks, Montgomery had the perfect star potential, but his name and heritage stood in the way. In the early stages of his career, he made a decision that would alter his Hollywood journey. He dropped his original last name, Buczynski, opting instead for Montgomery, a name that sounded more Anglo-American and fit the mold of the classic leading man. He also softened his Eastern European background, embracing a more generic, all-American identity. This shift worked in his favor. Montgomery was cast in a variety of roles that showcased him as the quintessential American hero, strong, stoic, and charming. Over the years, he became known for his roles in westerns and action films, earning recognition as one of the leading men of the Golden Age. Despite his success, Montgomery's true ethnic background remained largely hidden from the public eye. It wasn't until years later that many learned about his Lithuanian roots, but by then, he had already cemented his place as one of Hollywood's finest, an actor whose name was synonymous with American heroism, regardless of where he came from. 10. Jeff Chandler, the actor who reinvented himself. In the glittering world of Hollywood's golden age, Jeff Chandler was a handsome leading man who captured the hearts of audiences. But the story behind his rise to fame wasn't as glamorous as it seemed. Born Ira Grossel, Chandler was a talented actor of Jewish descent. However, in an era when being Jewish could limit opportunities in Hollywood, he decided to reinvent himself. To shed his ethnic roots and fit into the more desirable, all-American image, he adopted the name Jeff Chandler, an identity that was not only more Anglo-sounding but also more in line with the leading men of the time. As his career took off, Chandler found himself playing the roles of the suave, charming hero in films like Broken Arrow, 1950, and The Tattered Dress, 1957. His transformation from Ira Grossel to Jeff Chandler allowed him to break through the barriers that might have otherwise restricted his career. While he achieved great success on screen, Chandler never openly discussed his true background, keeping his Jewish heritage largely hidden from public view. This decision reflected the pressures and the desire to be accepted in a Hollywood that often didn't embrace ethnic diversity. Chandler's legacy is a reminder of how far many actors went to reinvent themselves in a time when success sometimes meant hiding one's true identity. His story is just one of many from an era where authenticity often took a backseat to the pursuit of stardom. And that's a wrap on today's video, folks. From reinventing their names to altering their backgrounds, these 10 Golden Age actors show just how far people were willing to go to achieve stardom in Hollywood. It's a fascinating glimpse into the lengths these legends took to fit into a world that wasn't always kind to those who didn't conform. If you enjoyed this video and want to dive into more untold stories from the world of entertainment, make sure to hit that subscribe button on Globewise Entertainment now. You won't want to miss the next deep dive into the fascinating history of Hollywood. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.